I'm Isabelle Gonthier, Chief Assessment Officer at PSI Services, and I invite you to delve deep into the world of testing with me. Every episode, I'll be on the virtual couch with experts from the testing industry, engaging in conversations about the latest developments in our field. Your quest for testing knowledge starts here. So, welcome to this episode of the Tried and Tested podcast. I'm extremely excited to be here in Dublin, Ireland, in the Chartered Accountant of Ireland offices with Ian Browne. So, welcome to our podcast, Ian.
Thank you, Isabelle. Thank you very much. You're not as excited as I am. Having seen a lot of your podcasts before, I was absolutely delighted to be asked. And it was great to be able to catch up while you were in Ireland as well.
Oh, absolutely. So, Ian is the Director Education of Training at the Chartered Accountants of Ireland. And today we're going to be talking about how Ian and his organization have been driving innovation and really kind of like navigating a fairly conservative world. But there's been lots of great stuff. So, I'm really excited to be able to unpack that a little bit more with you today.
Great.
Awesome.
Looking forward.
So, we always start with the same question. What's your journey? How did you get into the world of credentialing and assessment?
It's been a great journey to get to here. I started off my career in industry as an accountant and ended up in sort of academia or education through taking a course in management accounting on a Monday night for 3 hours back a good few years now. And that went from strength to strength, and I ended up doing more teaching and lecturing than I did actual commercial work. And then ultimately, after about 3 years and 4 years in that, was actually headhunted for a role here in Chartered Accountants Ireland 10 years ago, 10 years ago last month, as the head of assessment and syllabus. And subsequently then I've been Deputy Director of Education and Director of Education since. So it's been not a traditional route to assessment and education. Started mainly in commercial and as a management accountant and a financial controller.
So that's interesting. So you started in the profession, you know,
Yes.
so and then you got yourself into the credentialing organization. We hear a lot of people starting as subject matter experts working on the exam, but it looks like for you, you kind of came in straight into the organization and sort of build up, obviously based on your experience in education and that you were able to leverage. So, but that's interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting because how it started was I was actually teaching in a professional education environment in Ireland here, organisation owned by Kaplan, which was Dublin Business School.
Yeah.
And I was teaching on the programme initially on ACCA and CIMA courses. And I was lecturing to help students in Ireland pass their professional exams. Wasn't involved in the exam setting at that stage. And then over a period of 3 years, my pass rates became so good that both CIMA and ACCA came to have I wouldn't say a full investigation, but have a look-see to see is this guy actually getting the exams in advance of the test takers taking these. So I was getting like 100% pass rate, 95% pass
Wow.
rates in subjects that had a 35% global pass rate. So when that happened after a year or two of that, then kind of Chartered here contacted me to headhunt me to come here and sort of poacher turned gamekeeper. So then to help write the syllabus and write the assessments for Chartered Accountants Ireland, which for me was a hugely, and still is, hugely prestigious job
Yeah.
for me. And I'm really humbled and proud to be doing that job role here. Because Chartered Accountants Ireland is around since 1888. And it was formed by Queen Victoria signing a royal charter in 1888. And that royal charter is as relevant today as it was back then, which tells you how, when we talk about innovations and forward thinking, it just didn't start happening in the last decade or two. It's been around a long time. And obviously the Institute here in Ireland has continued to grow. And even last year, we were very, very proud of one of the once in 100-year events for the accountancy profession in Ireland, where we had a merger with our other national body here, CPA Ireland, and we merged on the 1st September 2024, and it's been a hugely successful piece where we now are the one national voice for the profession in Ireland, and we've over 40,000 members. and we've over 8,000 students now. So we've continued to grow, and it's been a incredible journey, and it's lovely to have been here for an event of that magnitude.
Wow.
It's a once in a 100-year event, and again, it's not going to happen again because there is only one national body now on the island. So it's brilliant.
Well, yeah, that's impressive. And to your point, the fact that you were asked to come and the work that you were doing was so good that they saw the value in saying, hey, we want to continue to enhance our curriculum, how we do things, and build from that. So that's great. And I thank you for sharing about the merger. I think that's also very critical and important when you think about the impact and influence of the organization across the country and outside.
It was interesting, Isabel, as part of the merger as well. Um, and it goes back to our journey, which we will probably touch on today. Well, I'm hoping we do, which was the fact that we were started our reassessment journey 2 years before COVID.
Yes.
We were one of the first accountancy bodies in the world to be ahead of the COVID piece, which was a real help for us. But when COVID hit, our sister, well, they were competitors at the time here, CPA Ireland, we would have helped them in terms of their assessment strategy to be able, because we had 2 years prior experience. So we helped a lot of bodies around the world, but in particular CPA Ireland. And in fact, they had the same assessment platform then
Okay.
since 2020 as we had. And then that was also a huge help when it came to the merger, that we were both using the same assessment platforms.
Yeah, that kind of helped kind of set the foundations and really
Right.
kind of like bring all of this together.
Yeah.
And now a short break. Hello, tried and tested listeners and fellow testing enthusiasts. I'm Isabelle Gonthier, your guide through the fascinating world of credentialing. Each week, we dive deep with expert guests to explore the hottest topics in certification and licensure testing. If you're enjoying our journey through lifelong learning and innovation, take a moment to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And if you know someone passionate about testing or curious about the latest testing trends, why not share this podcast with them? It might just be the inspiration they need. Thank you for tuning in and being part of our community. Remember, sharing knowledge is one of the best ways to grow our industry together. Keep listening. So Ian, like your program, like and everything you've done has evolved so much through some of the things that you've worked before COVID, during COVID, after COVID. Let's talk a little bit about how you've evolved the assessment program and some of the changes associated with that, because you had to react quite quickly to a lot of changes all at the same time, although you were ready because you had started that journey before you were forced to. But let's talk a little bit about what that meant for you, your program, how it evolved, and how it continues to evolve.
Sure. Thanks, Isabel. Well, what we would have looked at is when we went online, we knew it was a suboptimal scenario because we were just basically, whilst we were getting people into exams and getting them to test, which is fine, but those assessments originally were designed as paper assessments and were just now replicated onto computer, which was good from a student's perspective because they can type a lot faster than they can write.
Mm-hmm.
There is benefits, but there's a difference between just hosting an assessment on a computer versus designing them from the bottom up as a test to be taken on a computer and fully maximizing the functionality of the actual platform you're using. And indeed, we built a lot of functionality to be able to do the key things that we needed to do for the world of accounting. So accounting specific functionalities to allow for auto scoring of all the key things. Because what we didn't want to do was compromise on assessment methodology to say we had to dumb down our assessment to facilitate the fact that it's being hosted online. That wouldn't have been okay. That was a red line we just weren't going to cross. So when we implemented in 2020 our assessments, the key thing for us that year was to be one of the only accountancy bodies in the world that actually could host their exams all through 2020. So that was really key. So
That's
that's
a big deal.
continuity piece.
Yeah.
That was a big win for us. And I have to say that just in terms of some of the team to call out, we have a great exams team here, and sort of 2 or 3 of the key players that would have been on, which is our e-assessment team now, would be Sonia Riley, heads that up, with Nikki Kurtz and Audrey Carter as well. It's important to mention the team there on that, because subsequently since 2020 as well, in almost every single exam setting, one of the things we pride ourselves in is not just about having an exam. It's about ensuring that 100% of people can get into the exam and take the test
Absolutely.
and be secured within an environment. That's something we pride ourselves on, and that's not something that's industry standard. So, and that comes from dedication of people within the system to running that efficiency and effectiveness standpoint. But then there's the other piece where we then need to, from a technical side, redesign the actual exams to suit the online environment. So we started that journey around 2020. So once we got the main exams out of the way, say, okay, breathe for a second, guys. We survived this. We got, we're going to stay here in this environment. And we still have, we host 25,000 exams a year, probably over 100,000 mocks and practice papers, etc. So what we wanted to do was say, how can we take this now and actually optimize it for being designed from the bottom up? So we started that with 2 of our lower interim assessments, where we used the functionality. We wanted the same assessment to be conducted, but just that it would be auto-scored within the platform itself, which meant we could get results out within a week instead of 8 weeks, which meant then you could give students feedback quicker. So they realized little Johnny needs to pull up his socks now and study harder because Johnny didn't really understand the stuff. Or, yeah, you're going good. And you know now you're going good sooner.
Yeah, you
So,
have that information, that feedback sooner, so you can move on.
Move on and prepare for the terminal end of term exam. Let's get this done. So that was the key. And we started in 2021. Then we rolled out the first of those 2 assessments. And then we were hold your breath when you take the exam, because now suddenly we were getting the results back quicker. And was it going to be a similar set of results? So, because you have to have continuity and consistency of pass rates and average marks. And lo and behold, luckily enough, because again, the outcome was still designed as the same. It's just the methodology to get you there might have looked a little bit different. So we ended up with consistency in pass rates, thank God, touch wood, and average marks. And that worked well. So that's 2021. And then we've got to go, okay, let's take that success, the learnings, let's work with our regulators then to see how do we adopt that design philosophy into the main exam. So we've 3 tiers, year 1, year 2, year 3, Cap 1, Cap 2, FE. Let's keep it at year 1, year 2, year 3. In year 1, in May 25, we actually did our first year 1 terminal exams, fully auto-scored, auto-marked, using the full functionality of the system, designing them as e-assessments from the bottom up. Now, that process in itself, I would say, is a 2-year journey to get to there. Okay, it's not, because you've really got to re-examine, because we had to develop some functionality. We had to get all our subject matter experts to look at the subject content in a different way, etc. But we launched those, and we have great consistency and pass rates year on year. Again, we're quite happy with that. Year 2 now in summer 26, that's going to go through that format as well. So, and then our final year will stay in the existing format that we have. So this is more case study built. So I feel now we've come to the end of squaring almost, I don't want to say fully, because the innovation journey is never ended, but I really feel we're starting to square that circle. I really feel now that that's something, okay, we've got that nailed down now pretty much. We're almost there. But during that journey, it's like I do always say to my friends, it's like when you're doing up your house and you decide, let's do up the sitting room. And you do up the sitting room, and then you realize, cripes, the kitchen now doesn't look great. Let's do the kitchen.
It has a bit of a ripple effect.
Yeah. So when you've done your assessment side of the house, we'd also upgraded our syllabus in 2018 as well. So we were one of the first accountancy bodies in the world to really roll out stuff with RPA, AI, all of that piece back in 2018, sustainability, well ahead of the curve. And we decided, okay, let's look at now, we've moved on our assessments. Let's see what quantum shift we can get in our education program and syllabus. So we started a project in December 2020 called Project Athena, which was a research project which took us a while. We spent a lot of effort in it. And over the period, what we worked out was what was the syllabus of the future for accountancy going to look like, and then how are we going to teach that? Because we keep going back to the strategic option piece. When 2020 hit, we were fundamentally a chalk and talk organization across the whole island, and we knew that people had to come online during COVID. So we invested with Moodle at the time because we didn't want to be trapped into a quite an expensive legacy system, knowing that we were going to do something kind of quite innovative in that
So you
space.
need the flexibility,
Yeah.
the tools to kind of allow you to get to the next
Yeah, to
level.
spin out. So like
Yeah.
we weren't creating this really big brownfield site. So what we did was then during that period we were looking at different strategies for what would the future of education look like, knowing that the days of people coming in once they got used to being able to study online, it really helped a lot with their work-life balance. Didn't have to be coming to a physical venue. Also could do it at more at the time of their. However, it wasn't optimal learning. It was just a form of learning. And what we want to do is create optimized learning in that online environment. So we started to look at the entirety of what a learning experience would look like, taking our kind of principles from the likes of Disney or whatever, where you're at a theme park and it's like even in the queue, it's part of the experience. So for us, when we looked at our entire ecosystem, we said, okay, this all needs to be overhauled because it's been the same since 1888 in fundamentally similar. So we looked at it and said, okay, we have at peak times when we're doing our new student intake, we have all of these students coming, and we've been the fastest growing body for the last decade in the UK, where we're the product of our own success in that regard. So each year was like our best intake in history. Our best intake in history was the next year. So all those best intakes in history have to be processed. They need to get exempt. All of them come with different backgrounds educationally, so they have to get different exemptions or not, and each one has to be looked at on an individual basis. At peak times, that was taken up to 8 to 12 weeks to process somebody's. So that's not a good experience. Your first contact with the institute can be, I have to wait 8 to 12 weeks before I
Very
register.
cumbersome and long. And
Can
so you had
Yeah,
to look at the process
yeah,
and had to figure out a way to automate some
correct.
manual processes that are taking a lot of time.
And bear in mind, we were teaching on our syllabus
Yeah.
RPA. So we've been teaching RPA since 2018 on our
Huh.
syllabus to our students, but the cobblers' kids go barefoot, right? So we needed to turn that inward on ourselves.
Yeah.
So what we did then was we looked at that it's about 4 years ago now. We actually said, okay, this is the first part of the experience. So we got to completely revolutionize that because like slight tweaks and that's not going to be good enough either. So then we put the automation process experience we had to use, and we automated that process where it went from peak times being 8 to 12 weeks delay to like it's all automated now in less than an hour. So it's a very good experience. And last year then that won a global AI award at the UiPath Global Awards. So one of the 25 most innovative uses of AI in the world.
Oh, wow.
So that was a pretty, and like Kelda Lewis and her team here, our registrar. Big shout out to that team. They've done amazing work, and it just continues to evolve. We continue to use it in more and more innovative ways. But that was a good piece for that. Now, so once we got you in, we've got to look at how we train you. So, like one part of it is as part of being an accountant, a professional qualified accountant, you have to have a practical experience diary. So that's a whole job in itself to record that, not just take exams and take courses. So we completely revolutionized that as well. And there's a new training diary log being launched in the next couple of weeks as well on our new system.
Okay.
How we teach then needs to be looked at. And so what we did was we looked at it and said, well, what's the future of education? Like people probably aren't going to come back in on scale. And also like, how do we give somebody that one-on-one unique educational journey so that every single learner gets that unique journey to their own self,
Adapted to them, their learning style, their approach, where
their
they are at.
background, all of that. So we ran our pilot of that last year for 3 subjects with great success. And this year now, we're rolling out to all of year 1 and year 2 is a fully adaptive program. So whilst everyone takes the same courses, no two learners in our ecosystem, so those 7,500 students, will take the exact same learning journey, because the system dynamically changes itself every 30 seconds to an individual's needs and optimizes to their learning. One of the things that it does as well is, so with traditional linear learning, the amount of time that you stay in the optimal flow of learning. So if you've 1 hour for 1 hour of unit of learning in a traditional learning system, you will have optimal flow of about 15 to 20 minutes. Whereas in our system, that number, if you have an hour of study within our system, the optimal flow is somewhere near 40 minutes. So it's about twice as effective. The time that you put into your study is twice as effective. And we've seen that in the pilot with our outcomes in the terminal exam. Because what the system is trying to do at every step of the way is it's taking you, the learner, and trying to get you to fully competent. So in each of the learning objectives within our system. So, and then the system prepares you then to be ready to take an exam. So we've had really good, and it's developing these almost neural pathways of learning, which traditional learning doesn't necessarily do, because that only comes through high repeating of the tasks. The system, by its nature, trying to probe you to figure out where you are in your learning journey, is constantly asking you and engaging with you in a gamified way to bring you through your learning journey. So ultimately, probably in the long term, working with regulators and 7 or 8 years down the road, you start to say, well, okay, each time now our students go through their learning journey, our learning system is assessing them to see if they're fully competent across the entirety of our syllabus.
So as opposed to be like only a one point in time assessment,
Correct.
It's continuous kind of like touch points and reviews and
Correct.
assessments.
And the system, so you could take 50 hours to do a unit of learning for us. I might take 25. Somebody else could take 200 hours. But that doesn't matter. The fact is, it's gotten you to get to 100% competency across the learning. So you've achieved the learning outcome. So whereas a terminal exam, a once off, is a snippet of the syllabus. Because in 3 hours, 4 hours of assessment,
You can't test everything.
You're going to take somebody in and assess them for 50 hours? No, nobody's doing that. Nor should they. Don't try that at home, by the way. So we're kind of looking at a scenario where over a period of 4 or 5 years, we might have full syllabus coverage. So whereas now, every student that's going through our systems at year 1 and year 2 this year, we can see exactly where each one of them are in terms of their learning towards the outcomes of our syllabus. That's a phenomenal amount of data points you collect. And so what we're finding is huge insights into people's learning journey. Now, the other side of it is too, there's a couple of different innovations that we've got to put in around that. So what we're looking at too is in terms of, okay, so we have this challenge that, like, in the past, I met my husband or wife when I was studying at Chartered Accountants Ireland. I looked across in the audit lecture and I saw my future wife or my future husband. But that necessarily wasn't always so. We had to unpick that a small bit. You might have crossed eyes when you're in a lecture theatre on a Saturday, but fundamentally you actually work together at a particular organization in an intake year, and that's how you met. But nonetheless, when you go to all online, there's that sense of maybe not being as part of a community. That's also part of a learner experience.
Yeah.
So what we're doing, working with another company that's very successful in this space, bringing together, having an add-on, which is a community building tool, which allows students to engage with each other during the learn. And where we kind of initially coppened on to this was there are people on YouTube who people go on to watch them studying while they're studying. Not that that person could be studying anything randomly, but people felt it was better if on their screen they could have somebody else studying while they were studying, but didn't make them feel as bad.
It's a way to partner and engage differently.
Yeah, engage differently. So what we did was we went out and we said, that could be a thing psychologically for humans, because like we're not supposed to be on our own. We're a social animal in that regard. So when we dug deeper into that, we realized there is a lot to that. So, and then our partner that we're trying to reach out to in the market space right now is helping people build that functionality. So having the ability that I'm going on live tonight to study on our learning platform, but that I can interconnect with Isabelle because I'm studying management accounting and I know Isabelle is brilliant at management accounting. So let's pair up. We can meet up and pair up on all of that. It's great. And also then we can share screens. We can do all the functionality of Slack, Zoom, all into one system.
Leveraging all the tools that are
All
out
of the
there.
tools.
Yeah.
That also, because there's the two best ways of learning necessary out there is that sort of peer-to-peer learning is very powerful. I've experienced that as a lecturer when I've had students buddy up in a classroom experience. So I know it works. And then the other piece is in terms of if you have a private tutor. So the private tutor is in our adaptive learning system. The adaptive learning system is private tutors. You will sit across the table and constantly ask questions back and forth. I don't really understand. Help me with that. Well, our system is doing that automated.
Okay.
So you have that functionality built in. And then, but what happens if you get to that constant loop and that comes to an end? Well, then if you want to have instant, again, what happens now if somebody's still struggling with the content, what they do is they reach out to us and then we then reach out to our subject matter experts and say 3 or 4 days pass by and then the student gets a response to the question they'd asked. Now, learning experience. If all of the things you've been doing now as part of the chain, think of the house. You've done up every house, every bit of the house. The bathroom upstairs still needs doing. It hasn't been done yet. You're going, let's go do that. So that's become the part of our. So we need a faster response time, and our existing processes won't facilitate that. Hence, we're going to build in and loop in a virtual tutor system where the generative AI is trained on all of our content technically and also trained on all the hygiene factors. When is my next resit exam? What do I do if I failed an exam? All of that
So
bits as
it's
well.
full support from
Full
all
support.
aspects.
So when you're there at 2 a.m. in the morning, we're not going to be logged in at 2 a.m. But if you're studying at 2 a.m. or whenever that might be, and you have a question, you can get a response to that immediately. And if after, in 98% of the time it'll answer, the 2% it won't, at the very end, the system will actually generate the email then for you to send to us rather than you, oh, cripes, I've asked it loads of times and it didn't answer my question. Now I've still got to go write the email because if they know that at the start, they'll just write the email in the first place and they skip the virtual tutor. So it's about reimagining the entirety of the learning ecosystem. So that's the journey we're on right now. So we hope to be finished that entire rollout in about 18 months' time.
That's impressive. And I think that what I really like about this whole thing is that you've looked at transformation from start to finish and it's thought through across all aspects of that ecosystem and life cycle. And I think that's what is really important. It started with transforming the assessment, the delivery, what's accessible to whom, at what point in time, and really addressing some key concerns and challenges around cost, accessibility of the exam. It started that way and it evolved into how do we leverage technology? Like the technology is so powerful, like everything that has to do with AI, and you're taking all of this and putting it together to enhance and maximize that experience. This has been a fascinating conversation, and it pains me to say that we're going to have to wrap it up. But one last thing that I want to ask you as we sort of like bring all of this together, how are you engaging and really talking about those changes and the benefits to your stakeholders, to your test takers, to the firms? Because obviously there's massive benefits, but there's probably a certain level of engagement that's required to get them on board. So maybe just a little bit about that as we wrap it up.
Yeah, and that is very true. So we've got to bring a lot of different stakeholders. We bring our firms, we bring our students, bring our regulars on board. What we found is, as part of Project Athena, part of the research was reaching out to the firms and what do you need from us for the future? And as we evolved, we've held for the last 2.5 years the art of the possible workshops every 6 or 8 weeks with all our major firms. And what that has showed us is as we've evolved, we wanted to make sure that if we just evolved and people didn't really understand what would the art of the possible was in that evolution, that we'd miss a trick. So what we found was we used to do right now, but next year changes. Right now, and for all our history, it's been one intake each year at each level, plus a resit.
Okay.
And that's been the traditional model forever. Now, back in the day, that model worked for all of the firms because there was busy season and then there was quiet season. So our academic cycle is built around that. so that when it goes in the summer quiet, under the old world order, quiet, students went out and study leave.
Yeah.
However, firms now, it's busy season all year round. So what we have now, we weren't systems evolved enough to be able to do more than that. So what we've been able to do now that we've become more technologically evolved, as of next year, we're offering 3 intakes per year for our firms at Cap 1 and Cap 2, year 1 and year 2, and still 1 at our final level for now. It might evolve over time. That for 2026 is the first time in our 130 odd years of existence that has been completely changed. Driven mainly by firms' students in terms of giving them more flexibility to be able to take exams different times of the year. It completely then changes the resourcing model and intakes of some of our registered training firms, which is all leading to why we've seen, like last year, we saw double-digit growth in a market globally that's in decline. So we continue to see positive numbers coming in, and we're very excited about that. And that's when all stakeholders come together. So, see, Project Athena, the best success, when we first knew the Project Athena was going to be a great success, was when we had all our stakeholders say, this is all our strategy. And it is. We've all come together because it's one. So people talk about the accounting profession and think is it the firms? Is it the regulator? Is it the institute? Is it the students? Is it the members?
It's everyone.
It's everybody in the community. And we have here, Ireland's quite good at rugby, right? And we have a scrum mentality. And we've talked about that from day one with Project Athena, that if the community of the profession in Ireland comes together and all pushes together as a scrum, then we've an outsized return of what we're able to achieve. That if only one person is pushing or 2 people in the scrum is pushing. So thankfully we've experienced that, and it's a very humbling thing to be part of, and we're very much looking forward to the future that we have. So we can't stop. Like, this isn't the end of our journey. We'll constantly continue to evolve. But I think we're going through a period right now of quantum shift in what we do.
And that's it. I think that's kind of what's super powerful in terms of what you've been doing, and extremely inspiring. Well, I feel like we're going to have to do a part 2. So let's kind of mark this. Let's do a part 2. And thank you, Ian, for your time. Thank you for sharing the transformation, the innovation, the passion you have. Congratulations on the success of this and, with the award that you got. And congrats to your team. I think that there's so much to learn from your journey. So thanks a lot, and we'll talk more for sure.
Thank you, Isabelle. God bless. Thank you.
Thank you.